Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and this is our first Wander Round Paradise of 2024. We're going to be looking at where Celtic are here at the midpoint of the campaign, and I think I'm feeling a lot better about it than I was after the Hearts defeat. That was the second of two successive defeats for the first time in almost 11 years that Celtic had suffered. And I've got to admit, at that point, for anyone who watches A Celtic State of Mind on a daily basis, I was a wee bit concerned about the lack of fight and identity in that particular performance, and I felt that going into the Rangers game on the 30th, we really had to put that right in the two games against Livingston and Dundee. That was the two games we had to prepare. We went into the Rangers game, the Glasgow derby, and I think that Rangers had quite a bit of momentum. They had the new manager in, they'd won the League Cup, and they'd also qualified for the last 16 of the Europa League, where at Celtic it was doom and gloom in many ways, and Brendan Rodgers had to do something to spark this team back into life. And what did he do? I think one of the big things he did is he introduced Paulo Bernardo into the midfield. Since the injury to Rio Atati, he had tried David Turnbull, Tomoki Iwata and Odin Holm in that position. None of the three of them really claimed the jersey, but Paulo Bernardo did against Livingston and Dundee. And we went into the Rangers game looking at him thinking we need a big performance from this boy, because up until that point he hadn't really set the header alight. But against Rangers he became one of the star men as he opened the scoring, and for me it was his best performance in a Celtic jersey. And he followed it up, of course, against St Mirren with 2 assists as well. The big thing for me with Bernardo is not just the individual performance, but it's also the fact that Matt O'Reilly and Callum McGregor seemed to come to life. There was a better balance in the midfield. And it obviously resulted in us winning that Glasgow derby 2-1. And I think the result itself, the actual scoreline, flattered Rangers. Celtic, for me, were in control of that game. There was only 2 periods after Welsh got injured and after Rangers had a man sent off where our tempo dipped a wee bit and the control of the game dipped a little bit. But I think one of the biggest key issues of that was the performance of Paulo Bernardo. And we're going to be looking at some of the other performers on that particular game that puts us in a good position as we look forward to 2024. I mentioned the performance of Paulo Bernardo against Rangers, and I think up to that run of 4 games, I was of the view that his loan deal could have been cut short this January, and it wouldn't have made much difference to the team. But now, after those performances, I can see that there is going to be benefit in keeping Bernardo, and if he continues that form in the second half of the season, he could be a really good acquisition to this Celtic squad under Brendan Rodgers. As I said before, he gives the midfield a really good balance. I know that Rio Atati's coming back into full fitness, but he'll be away to the Asian Cup, so it gives Bernardo a really good opportunity to staple his place in the Celtic side. When you look at the performance against Rangers, there were other big performers, weren't there? Callum McGregor was outstanding, and he was spoken about by Brendan Rodgers after the game. A real leader's role. We orchestrated the pace of the game, and I think that the way he carries the ball out of trouble, taking it 20 and 30 yards at a time, transition from defence to attack, was outstanding, and it was brilliant to see him getting all the credit after the game as well. O'Reilly was a warrior that day, burst his face open, showed you his combative style as well as the flair that we're used to. And he is having the season of his life at this moment in time as well. We went into the game with a bit of adversity, with Cameron Carter-Vickers getting an injury and Stephen Welsh stepped up. And I think on paper at the beginning of the season, that would have concerned us, a central defensive partnership of Welsh and Scales. But going into the game, I was still quite confident. I didn't expect, obviously, an early injury to Welsh after half an hour, but I gave another opportunity to Mike Nawrocki to step up and show us what he is actually worth. It's taken us a long time to get a good look at him, and I thought he came through that challenge really well. So over the last few weeks, one of the biggest plus points for me has been the resurgence or the emergence of Bernardo and Nawrocki. And we can't speak about the Rangers victory without talking about the impact of Kygo Fashi. He's a player who, going into that game, was getting a bit of stick, wasn't he, for his form. And although there was a personal disappointment for Kygo when he wasn't named in the Japanese squad for the Asian Cup, he obviously is on a bit of a high after that goal, isn't he? No one in Scottish football could score that goal. Kygo is the only player capable of it, and I think it was a timely reminder that he is our talisman, and he has been throughout the last 2.5 seasons now. We dip in form, makes no difference to that. So it's great to go into the second half of the season with Kygo having that goal under his belt, but at the same time we still need a striker because O's away with the South Korean squad, and I think that begs the question, what are the priorities in the transfer market? And for me, Brendan Rodgers says that it's 2 players because he has changed from the 4 that he wanted in the summer. If it was 1 or 2 players, I would say that the priorities are indeed the striker and also a left back. Now Greg Taylor, I think in the last 4 games has been outstanding, showing the kind of form that he did under Ange Postecoglou as an inverted fullback. And that's because we've been on the front foot, haven't we, really, from the first kick of the ball in each of those 4 games. And that really suits Greg Taylor. So yeah, we do need a left back because there's no cover whatsoever, and he needs a challenge. He needs someone to be breathing down his neck to try and claim his jersey. So Celtic go into the second half of the season in a great mood. On the other side of the city, they're in a bit of a foul mood, aren't they? And it still rolls on. This is due mainly to the fact, obviously, that a penalty wasn't awarded when Alistair Johnson handballed the ball out of play. And there seems to be an issue with the process of VAR, obviously being the main concern, but that's been turned into demands for VAR audio and for certain referees, i.e. Willie Collum, not to be involved in the officiating of any games involving Rangers. And that, for me, is ridiculous. It's over the top. But what it does is it takes their focus away from what's important, which is the football. So Celtic, we've kept our own backyard in order, and I think we can focus on the recruitment aspect of strengthening this side. And whilst the meltdown continues, we can look at that tongue-in-cheek and just have a little giggle about it, because let's be honest, it is rather humorous to see them going into meltdown after 1 victory, particularly when they went 73 games without conceding a penalty. So I don't think the world is indeed against them. What's Acsom up to? Well, at the end of this month, Martin O'Neill comes to Greenock. I'll be joined by Martin O'Neill, and it's a sold-out event, so hopefully I'll see some of you there. And wee Jamie Tierney, we continue to raise funds for wee Jamie. And the link for Jamie Tierney's fundraiser is underneath this video. Join us again tomorrow at 12:30, but keep an eye out on the YouTube channel because we've got lots of content to come up in 2024. Big year for all of us. But as I say, come back at 12:30 tomorrow for the Acsom Bulletin.